good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever and whenever you are joining us. Welcome to our latest edition of What Caught My Eye, or WCME Sports. As always, I'm your host, the coach Nick Veschi, joined by the boys Stephen Veschi.
What up?
And not pictured here again, but still here with us in spirit, is the man Stephen Comlow. He's currently, again, indisposed in an undisclosed location. Now, before we get into our top catch for the evening, just a reminder to follow us on all of our social media. That's on X, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, Snapchat, and Threads at WCME_sports. Our episodes drop every Wednesday at noon on Spotify, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. All that information can be found on our website, WCMEsports.com. Now, without further ado, we get into our top catch for the show. And this week, we went with the Indiana Hoosiers football team winning the national championship on Monday night.
Never thought in your lifetime you would ever say that sentence.
No. Which makes it truly one of the most remarkable sporting achievements in the history of contemporary organized sports. Truly it is, right? When you think about everything that you have to do to get to this point, for them to be able to do it and stand on top of the mountain is awe-inspiring. It's truly mind-boggling, like your thoughts are trapped in a bottle. It is insane, right? So just some things to put in perspective, right? If you missed it, they took down Miami. In Miami, by the way, it was a home game for Miami, even though the Hoosier crowd...
70-30 Indiana.
Yes. It was still, Miami's playing in their home stadium, right? I believe the score was 27-21, if I'm correct, boy.
That's correct, yes.
And did so in typical Indiana fashion, really. Just wearing them down, consistency, right? Making the right plays, being tougher, smarter, all these things that we dismiss when we try to, talk about athletes, especially football players, but all these things that are truly relevant. The Kurt Signettiism that we have said before, production over potential, was on full display last night. Now, again, they didn't blow them out, right? And in a lot of ways, Miami was the better team at some points. Indiana was the better team. It was a very, I wouldn't say well-played game, but it was a good championship game because you saw good stuff from each side that made it competitive, right? But man,
every time I thought Indiana was going to just, here's the stranglehold, it's over, Miami fought back.
Yes.
Which was incredible. I thought when it was 10-0 and they missed the field goal, like Miami doinked that field goal and Indiana got the ball to start the second half, I thought, this could get ugly and like this championship game's not going to be fun to watch. And then Miami immediately stops them, comes down, Mark Fletcher Jr. gets that big run, and it's boom, right back in the game. Miami actually in the third quarter, they dominated the third quarter.
Oh, and you could argue Miami had the most dominant players out there. Mark Fletcher, who we should have got the ball more.
Love him.
We've said it since the beginning of the playoff. He should have 25 rushes at least.
If he's not touching the ball
that many
close
times,
to 30 times a game,
agreed,
it's a problem.
He's an absolute monster beast and was on display there. He, for much of the night he was bottled up, and it's a testament to Indiana's defensive acumen and skill and teamwork and wolf packing and all that stuff. But he was dominant for stretches. Ruben Bain was dominant the whole game. Unreal. That the whole D line. Mesidor was good. 99 was that Blunt? I forget.
I have to look him
the
up.
D tackle was
really good. Yeah.
Yes, was phenomenal.
That's against Indiana's offensive line. I know they didn't win the Joe Moore Award. I think Iowa did. I think Iowa had the Remington Award winner as well.
Yes,
but Indiana's offensive line was probably second best in the nation.
And
then Miami as well. But Indiana, Pat Coogan coming from Notre Dame to Indiana. One of the best centers in the country.
Got punked.
The left tackle, I believe, won like the best left tackle.
Best offensive lineman in the Big Ten.
Or best offensive lineman in the Big Ten. He got his ass kicked.
No, Miami's D line, I would say, punked Indiana's offensive line for a lot of that game. It was very watching that, and I'm sure you could attest to this. Felt as the game wore on very reminiscent of Tom and the Patriots when they were playing the Giants. It felt like that, like
100%.
that Miami could sit there and take those four guys and just obliterate the game if they wanted to. And
Correct.
what happened in those Patriots Super Bowls is they just kept relying on the pass and it played into their hands.
I mean, it was like
Indiana
almost identical
quit
to
it,
it because you had I was thinking about this too with that was to me that was the only chance Miami had at winning was how they played. I mean, they had a great chance to win the game at the end, but how they played with a dominant defensive line and can you run the football? Fletcher got loose for that one run, but their defensive line, everything, it was exactly what that Patriots Giants game was because you kept thinking to yourself, well,
games, two of them, they did it twice.
Even if it's close, Tom Brady's the quarterback on one side and Eli Manning's the quarterback on the other. Like, I'll take Tom. And you're thinking the same thing. Fernando Mendoza versus Carson Beck. I'll still take Fernando Mendoza. And it's getting tighter. And it's getting tighter. And now Tom can't get a pass off. Fernando can't get a pass off. Like, he's getting drilled every play. Like, it's tough sledding run the football, too. Your best receiver, Surratt, drops a pass, which I don't think I've seen an Indiana player drop a pass.
Yeah.
Like was that hot read to Surratt. I was like, oh, beautiful, and then he drops. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like Indiana's in trouble.
Yes. Another kind of comparison too with the D line, right? Of those Giants teams, right? The first Super Bowl it was all about, Strahan and O.C. Umenyiora. But then you had these other guys kind of step up, like a Justin Tuck, I believe, first became someone in that first Super Bowl, right? Kind of like that D tackle for Miami 99 in this game. You had that third or fourth guy. And then like the other Super Bowl, you had like Matthias Kiwanuka showing up, Jason Pierre-Paul. You had these guys who they showed up. They made their name for themselves in that moment.
In the biggest, yep.
Whereas, the attention was more on like the Strahans of the world, the Reuben Baines of the world. And that, again, all the parallels are there. But I think we learned something that Fernando Mendoza is no Tom Brady because he, unlike those games, take that shot at Tom. Tom, who was there, by the way, Tom was there watching with the rest of the Raiders owners.
With his 7 Super Bowl rings, the greatest quarterback of all time. Yep. All right, go ahead. Keep taking a shot at him.
I'm just saying, when Tom was in those types of games with the same script, ostensibly, he came up short, whereas Mendoza found a way with what is it's the play of the year. That touchdown run. Right? That drive is the drive of the year. That touchdown run is the play of the year. So it was in the fourth quarter. There's a lot of time left. I believe that the touchdown run came with like 9 minutes left, right?
9 minutes, I think, yeah.
They earlier converted a 4th and 5 on a throw to Charlie Becker.
Charlie B. from Nashville, Tennessee.
Who's phenomenal, by the way. It made a great catch, all hands, on that 4th down conversion. That's a 4th and 5, by the way. Then they face another 4th and 5 at about the 12-yard line going in to score, and they call a quarterback draw. And Mendoza has, again, the play of the year. It was like John Elway, but he got into the end zone because Elway's scramble in the Super Bowl where he helicopters was for a first down.
Friday Night Lights.
It was
the end zone.
Unbelievable. I one of the best plays I've ever seen. Truly, and not meant to be hyperbolic or have recency bias, but with the magnitude of what that play meant and how it happened, and everything around Fernando Mendoza too, right? To show up in that situation with that play, right? It goes back to you go down with you dance with the one you brought, you go down with your best players, you take your best shot with the guys, you put the ball in the hands of your best player and you let them decide your fate. And it just him breaking
what a play call.
Yes. The blocking was great. The broken tackle was phenomenal, right? Well, first he sidesteps a guy, then breaks the tackle, then the spin and dive, the lunge and dive to the end zone is like there's got to be some incredible picture of just that and that moment where he's reaching over, and that is Indiana football. If you were looking for one play that defines Indiana, Signetti, the culture, production over potential, all of that, it was that play, because you that play required things that aren't quantifiable. It was he didn't score because he was the fastest. He didn't score because he's the biggest person, or he didn't score because of all these other things. Like, oh, he's got whatever this going for him. I meant the other way. The other way is the angle I want, where you can see his face.
Picture. All right, that's the picture I love.
Yes. I'll get you
to the other one.
All that matters was winning in that moment. Right? That's all that mattered is to win the game. And you kind of felt that no matter what happened after that, there's no way Miami was going to win, because who else on that field could match the heart of what it took, the winning of what it took, right? Winning is a skill. It truly is. But winning is not a skill that you can attach a number to, right? Where else would that winning come from on the field? And it wasn't going to happen. That's not supposed to be a huge shot at Miami necessarily, but that encapsulates everything that Fernando Mendoza is, everything that Indiana football has become, everything that Curt Cignetti was brought about, and we saw in microcosm in that play. It was unbelievable. And I thought they had the play of the year before with that Omar Cooper catch against Penn State, right? No, yeah. This trumps it. This was to win the essentially the game on the line, right? If you don't convert this, obviously you didn't have to get in the end zone, right? But if you didn't convert that fourth down, I'd argue, everything's with Miami.
Things were
at that point.
Yeah,
right?
The momentum was all on Miami's side at that point. That 4th and 5 Charlie Becker catch was absolutely massive. And then, because I was thinking, right, you go that 4th and 5, and it was to kick a field goal or go for it and possibly score a touchdown or whatever, and the field goal would have put you up 6, right? It still would have put you up 6, but
it felt like they needed to go for it, didn't it?
It did, and I also wonder if the Indiana kicker on the previous touchdown they had hit the upright on the extra point and doinked it in. But I wonder if that may have played a part where Cignetti was like, I think we should go for it anyway, but this just kind of confirms it. Like, I'm not trusting my kicker right now.
Put the ball in your best player's hand. Put the ball in the Heisman Trophy winner's hand and do what a Heisman Trophy winner is supposed to do. And that's what that play was. That was what you were supposed to expect from a Heisman Trophy winner. And it was so – maybe that's what made it so much better, is that we don't always get that. Especially after a Heisman Trophy winner's been crowned, there's not always a Heisman moment afterwards, right?
Correct.
You don't always get to see that, or because you don't always get put in that position either, right? But for that to happen to, and have it for Mendoza, right? His story's been well documented at this point. It's worth going back over because I love it. 2-star recruit coming out of Miami, Columbus High School, the alma mater of one Mario Cristobal, over on the other sideline, the head coach. Comes out of there as a 2-star recruit. Was committed to go to Yale. That was his best offer that he had, Yale, right? Which, hey, nothing to sneeze at, right? But it just shows his whole mindset, everything, right? He was going to go play quarterback at Yale. But he wanted to go to Miami. That was the dream all along, was go to Miami, right? Fulfill his Cuban heritage promise, I should be here, right? Let's get a Cuban quarterback. This is what we dream of. This is part of, again, our culture, everything here at the high school, all of that stuff, right? Essentially asked, can I come walk on the team? They wouldn't even let him try to walk on the team.
Walk on. Yeah, that's
wouldn't even let him try to walk on the team. And by the way, I looked at the years. I believe Cristobal was the head coach for that, by the way.
Was he? Or was it Manny Diaz?
Mendoza graduated in 2022. Cristobal, I believe, started in 2022 as the head coach.
Wow.
So he would have graduated that summer and would have been able to walk on in that fall. And, by the way, him saying that to Mendoza when they asked him was completely planned and on purpose. Him throwing that stick in, that jab there of I wanted to come walk on here. This was my dream, and they said you're not good enough. And and also again, he wound up going to Cal because Cal had a guy decommit, and at the last second called him up and said, "Hey, would you like to come here? We've got a spot open." So it's not even like they wanted him, right? Goes to Cal, wins a starting job, parlays that into transferring.
Miami in Cal last year, and if not
Yes,
for that target, it should have been a targeting call. Remember that on Basanti, the linebacker, the guy he actually broke the tackle of in this game going into the end zone. He knocked Mendoza out of the game in Cal last year on what should have been a targeting call, and Cal should have been able to knee the ball out after it. Instead, Miami gets the ball, they go down and score the winning touchdown. So Mendoza gets his revenge, goes in for the touchdown, ends Miami's season,
yes.
Wins the national title. It's poetic justice.
Yes, and in his hometown. Again, and what's also great too is the kid who intercepted the game-sealing pass, Jamari Sharp. He's from Miami. His uncle played at Miami. His uncle was the cornerback during the infamous phantom pass interference call against Ohio State in the 2002 national championship game. That was his uncle. He wanted to go to Miami. Jamari Sharp did. They didn't give him the time of day. So he winds up in Indiana, and he picks off the game-sealing interception. And his whole Rod Tidwell thing, didn't mind that at all. And no, you know what I thought was funny too? You know what I thought was funny too? He takes the helmet off, right? The ref's standing right there and, throws the flag like it's something. And it's like, dude, you're going to, make a deal essentially of throwing that flag, but yet you didn't throw the flag on all of these other things that happened on your sideline too.
Yeah.
That were egregious, but we'll throw the flag for this. And their justification, we get graded on these things, and that's the right call. Get out of here. Yes.
I did want to talk about the officiating a little bit because I like when they let them play and they're consistent on both sides. However, you have to get the obvious, as our dear old friend James Gammy used to say, get the obvious. There were so many, like, in the open, obvious holding calls or pass interference where it was
blocks in the back.
Please call that.
Cheap
like,
shots.
Very simple, cheap shots. It's a very simple thing, and instead you let, I honestly believe that kind of let Miami stay in the game a little bit.
Well, yeah, no. So
because your receivers are getting manhandled every single play, and you can't get anything going, and it's like, well, what the hell is this?
Well, so it reminded me. So, actually, two things. One, I believe the officials had a little fear because you don't want to be the story, right? There was a fear there, and two, I actually think that they were probably talked to by someone and saying, like, err on the side of not throwing flags because we don't want this to be a flag fest, right? I think that happened. The other thing, though, Miami, all that stuff that they were doing. One, you shouldn't be surprised. That's how, if you've ever watched a Miami team play in our entire lifetime, and even before that, that's just what Miami does, right? But two, it reminded me so much of Shaka Smart's VCU and Bob Huggins' West Virginia teams at times, where the mindset is, yes, make them call it. They not only will they not call everything, they can't call everything. They're not going to do it. So, yeah, you might get one called, but you're going to get away with it because they're not going to call all of them, right? And that's essentially what
Cooper on the slot fade.
There was
it was so aggressive. Herbstreit's just like, how do you miss that one?
There were a litany of
shot
ones
on Mendoza where he gets hit in the chin.
Should have been thrown out for that. It was targeting.
Yes, and by the way, I don't mind if a quarterback carries out a fake and you give him a shot.
Yes,
because he's carrying out a fake and he's part of the football play and he's a football player. You can give him a shot. You can't take the crown of your helmet and purposely go
and
up
launch
his chin.
Well, literally, he met all of the criteria for targeting,
except him being right there.
Yes. I genuinely, again, scared, I think is a legitimate thing to say for the officials. Scared. Like, as you say, boy, the moment's too big for them. But also, I actually think they didn't even see it. I genuinely think that not a
It's
single official
possible,
saw that.
but
Like, because it is possible, right? We say, how could you not? I genuinely think not a single official was even looking at it, and the kid got away with it because of that.
yeah,
Now, the people in the booth have the ability to call down and say review it. Like that happens all the time. They're able to do
correct.
that.
That
Like
should
they don't have
usually
to throw a flag for it to be
correct.
like, let's go to the review. And even they didn't do anything because again, I think it
That's
was
a
a
very
almost like
good
a
point that
mandate that
no one's brought up. No one's brought that up. That's a very good point that someone in the booth there
yes,
should have dinged down. I mean,
easy.
the replays are going constantly. You have the star player out there, the Heisman Trophy winner, is bleeding from his chin, and you go, well, how'd that happen on this? That doesn't make any sense. And you literally pull up the replay and go, oh, that's how it happened. Someone buzzed down, and let's stop it and review it.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it literally takes. So they do this. They do this all the time.
Yeah, but that's
Other
why I
games.
think there was a mandate because Miami brought up before the game how they thought it was unfair that their DB was sitting out the first half of the national title game because of a call in the previous game
Which
for
I
targeting.
didn't think was targeting in that call either. But
Me either. Yeah, well, that's part of it. That's part of what makes it infuriating too. Is you watch that play and you go, we've seen dozens of guys get tossed out of games for less than this, almost erroneously in our opinion, and then this guy does something that is clear as day, as cheap as you can get, and meets all the criteria and nothing out of it. Right. And there was another one on the sideline, a late hit on the receiver.
yeah,
The guy was well out of bounds and right in front of the official, nothing. Or just because he didn't fall to the ground. And get to the pass interference stuff and like the destruction of every receiver that's going downfield that Miami's guarding. Like literally just tackling.
Those back shoulder, the back shoulder throws that like I understand. Like Miami knows those throws are coming a lot of the times now because that's what Indiana's done with Surratt and Becker. They've been able to throw back shoulders to them at will, and it's almost perfect every time. And then all of a sudden they're a little bit off in this game, and it's like, oh well, that's interesting. Surratt doesn't drop balls. He's always like he's really strong hands. What happened on it? Oh, his jersey's halfway off. Like,
yes,
because he's just getting
and
that 4th and 5. Becker got destroyed.
he gets interfered with. Yes. No, again, you want consistency. Obviously, is the biggest thing. But at the same time, you can't.
I'm just glad they didn't call Indiana for anything on their side as well, right?
They did. On that final drive, they called a roughing the passer penalty on the D tackle, which
the passer was garbage.
It was considering what they had allowed to happen previously. Now, if they had been calling all of those things roughing the passer, okay, but what had transpired throughout the course of that game on Miami's end, it is a pretty, I think, again, erroneous call. But it's a psychological thing. Like, again, going back to that, they won't and they can't call every foul or every penalty, so this and this and this. When you start doing that, though, because as an official, you brought up, get the obvious. Well, it almost starts to mess with the official's head where that's not obvious anymore to them because it's normal. It becomes normalized on your end. But the other team that's not doing it, that play, that roughing the passer, is an outlier to the official. So it stands out as a play that deserves a flag. It's like they're essentially psychologically manipulating the officials into creating that call based off how you're playing. It's you could say what you want about it. On some ways, if it's brilliant, in other ways, it's unsportsmanlike if you want to go there. But I think that's essentially what happened on that. Is you weren't seeing it at all from nothing from Indiana's standpoint that would warrant any of these penalties, but you were seeing it all night from Miami and normalized it for that side of the ball. And this was an outlier, so it drew the flag. And that's a real thing, by the way, for people who want to go and say, oh, no, and every official who would sit there and say, that's not a thing. It's a thing. You watch enough sports, you see it happen. Again, those Shaka Smart VCU teams used to foul the absolute crap out of every team they played. They could have racked up 40, 50 fouls in every game.
The Press Virginia
True.
Huggins
Yes.
teams. I mean, there's a reason why those games would last forever. Because
it wasn't.
At one point, they're in the bonus with 12 minutes left, 13 minutes left of the game.
And they're still not calling every foul. and they're still
Correct.
not calling every foul,
But
right?
what happens when they don't do it and you get a turnover and you get a big basket,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's
The trade-off's
what it
there.
is.
Yes. Yes. Now, I do want to get into some just awesome statistical things from this game because of how monumental this is that Indiana did this. Yes, you'll say it's not an upset because they were favored, number one team. I'm sorry, it's a Cinderella story if you don't want to call it an upset. It is a true Cinderella story. So, obviously, first national title in program history. They're the first new national title winner or first time national title winner in football since Florida did it in 1996. So from 97 up until last year, every national title winner we had seen was a team in a program that had previously won a national title at some point. This is the first time for in 30 years, boy. 30 years.
You said
29 years.
96 was
96.
let's say
I
29
thought
years. Yeah.
I thought you said 20 years. I was
No,
like,
I said
check your math.
28 because I
Okay,
I was
yes.
going 97 to 2025.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, like 29, whatever, 28, 29, 30 years, whatever math you want to do there. But yes, for almost our entire lives, there hadn't been a new national title winner until last night. They're the first team to go 16-0 since of course you'll remember this, the 1894 Yale Bulldogs, the last time someone went 16-0 in FBS. They're the most recent school to have an undefeated championship season in basketball and in football. They did basketball 75-76 with Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight.
Yep. Fernando Mendoza is the 10th quarterback to win the Heisman Trophy and the national championship in the same year. The last one to do it was Joe Burrow. I believe 2019, I think was that team. Yep.
Yeah.
Indiana had the second best point differential in the AP poll era across their whole season. I believe the only team that had a better point differential was the 2013 Florida State Seminoles with Kamala's boy Jameis. Famous Jameis. And then these are the ones that I like the best. When Cignetti took over Indiana, and even coming into this year, they had the most losses in the history of Division I/FBS football. No other team coming into even this year, even after the year they had last year, still coming into this year, no other team in the history of the highest level of college football had ever lost more games, right? They came into this year with 3 more losses all time than Northwestern. Now, obviously, that's changed, right? They're no longer number one. Northwestern's now number one. But among schools that have existed football-wise for over 100 years, right? Because you got some schools on there that, if you go by winning percentage, right? Among schools that have existed over 100 years, only Kent State, Kamala's UTEP, New Mexico State, and Wake Forest had worse winning percentages coming into this year.
Wow.
BC, before Cignetti, the Hoosiers hadn't won 9 games since 1967 and had never won double-digit games in a season. This year, they compiled more wins than they had the previous 4 years before him combined. They literally, again, it is hard to put into words because even watching it, you felt like it's still hard to believe and still hard to comprehend because this is just for a professional comparison. It's the equivalent of watching the Lions win the Super Bowl or the Browns win the Super Bowl. It really is, right? Indiana Hoosiers football.
I think it's
what's the Lions and Browns? And I would almost say it's harder, like you said, boy, because the resources
or 136 FBS teams, something like that. By the way, they tied their number of AP top 10 wins this year as they had in their entire history. They got 6 AP top 10 wins this year, and they had 6 their entire history of football before that.
Yes, it is as remarkable as you can get, and I don't want to hear the excuses of, oh well, it's all transfers, and oh well, they're all grown men over there playing against kids.
The average age of Miami's starters was older than Indiana.
Carson Beck is in his 7th year in college. The guys he was recruited with are all playing in the NFL.
Why it's always Indiana's got these guys. So does every other team.
Yes,
they all have.
And we went through it before too. If you want to pull the transfer crap on them, they had whatever the 23rd ranked transfer class last year. The number 1 ranked transfer class was LSU, and they're garbage, right? So you want to pull that crap on them? That's ridiculous. The number, and then you would say, oh well, they bought their roster. The number of 4 and 5 star guys they had on there, right? Because that's what buying. You pay the most for the 4 and 5 star guys. I believe it was 8 on Indiana's roster, right? Which is like, I want to say like the lowest of all the Power 4 schools that were in the playoff.
They were
like,
yeah, I think their total team composite ranking was like 73rd in the country.
Yes. Yes.
Like that.
So I
quote unquote talent ranking.
Yeah, no, again, it's all garbage.
Potential. Yeah,
Correct.
It's complete, and this is why like Indiana and Cignetti winning this game was so important for college football, because all that star crap, all the preseason rankings, all the biases of like the SEC and all that stuff, who's got the quote unquote most talent, throw it all out the window. Don't even look at it anymore. You can look at your recruits and see, okay, so and so is here. Maybe I'll watch this highlight film or whatever. I got an edge here. We got to transfer some from this school or whatever. Go watch the highlight tapes. Do that. Don't look at the stars, because it doesn't mean a damn thing. It does. No, it doesn't. I also believe Malachi Tony was a 3-star. He played as a 17-year-old and was dominating teams this year and was one of the best players in college football.
Yes.
That's what a 3-star looks like. Like that.
No,
it's one of the dumbest things. So like, stop looking at stars. Stop ranking teams based on stars.
Yes.
Please.
No. You're right. It becomes moot now. And Cignetti kind of said that this is essentially the new world order, right? Of, again, we come back to that because the line is great: production over potential, right? Potential, as the great Todd Hill of Loudoun County High School once said, is just a word on a piece of paper. And he's exactly right. It's all it is. All these star rankings are all just things on paper. They mean truly nothing when you get out on the football field. Nothing, right? It didn't matter how many stars Fernando Mendoza had next to his name. That run to win the national championship after taking the cheap shots he took throughout that game means everything. There is no star you could put on that performance to show what we saw. Like, there's not, or even predict what we saw.
One of the best corners in the nation, Pons.
Yes.
I think he's listed at like 5'8", 175 or something. He's the best defensive player for Indiana. He was one of the best defensive players, one of the best cornerbacks in the nation.
Yes.
Is unbelievable this year.
Yes.
And I believe he was did he come from JMU? I think.
Yes.
With Cignetti, so did Surratt. So did, a handful of their starters are from JMU,
Camara,
and then another handful of starters are from other Group of 5 schools. Like,
yes,
the Power 4, Group of 5 thing, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't.
No, it's about getting the right leader, and Curt Cignetti is the right leader to run a program. It's about getting the right players that buy into it, because not every person is going to thrive in a Curt Cignetti environment. Truly not. So you can't just look and say, oh, this guy's got 5 stars, throw the pocketbook at him so we can get him. That guy's not going to fit in, right? You have to care more about winning than anything else if you want to come play for Curt Cignetti, essentially, right? There aren't, we want to think that that's, defines everyone, right? That applies to everyone out there, but the sad reality is it doesn't. There are plenty of people out there who don't care about that much about winning. They'll say it in its lip service, though, and they think they believe it. Like, they say it so they can think it, and they think that makes it reality. But they truly, deep down, don't care about winning. Fernando Mendoza proved what winning is. Right? He personified winning in that game, and again, those are things that you can't write down on a piece of paper and know and understand. Right? You have to see it, and you have to have the feel for that person. And so Cignetti, what he's done, 2 comparisons for me. I said it before, Belichickian. What Belichick did with his roster and what Vrabel's still doing, right? I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but think about some of these guys that I was seeing out there. The special teams dudes that they got, Schooler and like some other, Schooler or Schooner, whatever it is, and Marcus Jones. Like, those guys wouldn't have names if they weren't on the Patriots, but they're on the Patriots because they can do those things. I mean, Efton Chisholm the third. Who the Efton is that guy out there for the Patriots? That's a typical Patriots guy. Guys from Eastern Washington, undrafted, right? Out there
The red
playing.
turf.
Yeah, right. Playing meaningful snaps in the playoffs in the NFL at the highest level, right? So watching it was very Belichickian to me, right? Because those are the type of guys that Belichick would find that no one else really could identify, and that fit into that system that bought into winning, and that's what it feels like for Cignetti for me. And the other one was Tony Bennett that came to mind, doing more with the least, right? And again, when we say that, it sounds developing. Yes, the development
his players. Now,
yes, because
I will say, Tony Bennett's like national championship roster that he had. If you do look at those guys as recruits, like the star ranking next to those guys, they're all pretty damn high.
They were, but
for them to stay and develop and to play in his system and to fit it and to lose to this first one seed to lose and then bring it back and win the whole damn thing the next year is unreal. And then, but when Bennett started and he was able to get to a one seed with the rosters where Malcolm Brogdon was the best player, or Joe Harris or whatever it was, and then you had role players with him. It was like the jobs he did to
Anthony Gills
to beat the UNCs of the world. To get to where they did, they dominated the ACC for a decade.
But the point I'm making is when we say did the most at the least, it's not supposed to be disparaging who's there. Rob, like you pointed out, those guys are talented. Think about the number. All those guys are in the freaking NBA, right? Dude, Joe Harris's, Brogdon's, Jerome's, guys, the Hunter. Jay Huff is freaking a monster now, right? All these guys, Braxton Key got into the NBA, right? The sixth man essentially coming off the bench. So obviously there's talent there, but the idea is that if you were to rank those UVA teams talent-wise based on things on paper versus Duke, UNC, Kentucky, Kansas, right? The same way they sit there and compare Indiana to Ohio State, in Alabama, Texas, Oregon, in Georgia, and Alabama, they're going to be ranked way down here, and those guys are up here. And to me, that's where the comparison is that they rank these guys on talent, and Tony Bennett did, like you said, he dominated these people the same way Cignetti is dominating these people up here with quote-unquote less talent. But all these dudes, the same way that
we beat the shit out of them.
Yes. In the same way that we just said, Bennett, all those guys Bennett had gone on to play at the highest level and play very well and have great careers. It's what's going to happen to Cignetti's Indiana guys. I promise you that, because it's developing them, but it's also, giving them the opportunity. Seeing that, this guy who is, quote, 2 stars is actually a 4-star guy. And if we can get... Man. I'm a 5-star man. But if we can get him and we can, quote, develop him, this guy's going to leave us as a 5-star. Whereas before would be, this guy's labeled a 2-star. He's going to go play at UMass and, whatever. Maybe at some point he has a couple good flashes on tape and some team will sign him as a gunner on special teams. That's his best opportunity, if that, or maybe goes plays in Canada, right? Instead of that being the reality, the Cignettis of the world and like Tony Benz of the world identify that guy and obviously know that the talent, as you said before, is spread out pretty far with football and basketball. There's a lot of talent out there, right? In understanding which guys fit the intangible things that I can take this guy to the next level, and this guy will be more successful than that guy who was that 5-star who went to Duke, right? And so that's where that comparison to me.
Who's coachable too, because that Indiana team is so well coached, it's unbelievable. And also, here's another stat for you: Indiana did not lose a fumble over its final 1,047 offensive plays in 15 games. Yes. They only lost a fumble in the first quarter of its season opener.
To ODU. And I believe that guy went on IR too. Didn't play the rest of the year.
That's wild.
Got hurt. Yeah. Got hurt and So the guy who fumbled it wasn't even in any of these games.
So you had no lost fumbles all year, and then I think Mendoza threw 6 interceptions or something. That's it. That's their turnovers, and then they also had multiple block punts, as we saw one in the national championship, which was one of the biggest keys to that game.
Yes,
like every phase, they're so well coached. It's incredible.
And again,
and as we've seen now, the last 3 champions, Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, coming from the Big Ten, and the SEC keeps staying way down here. The SEC this year was 4-10 in conference bowl, or 4-10 in their bowl games, and 2 of those wins and 2 of those losses are to SEC teams.
Yeah, so essentially they went 2-8
against power conference team. The best coaching and the best football players, maybe not the most athletic guys or the talent guys,
highest the best star recruits. Yeah,
highest star recruits. The best football players and the best coaches reside in the Big Ten.
And we said that, I think, at the beginning of the year. We said that a while ago, a long time ago. Yeah. No, it's again that the whole thing. The other thing that comes out of the last thing is hope, right? Hope that this anyone can truly win a national championship. We just said it's the first time winner in like 30 years, but also they're the losingest program in the history of the sport, right? And they were able to. So it truly means because of now and all the transfers, right? That we bemoan that, and we talked at length about it last week, but it's giving the opportunity for an Indiana to win. It's given these opportunities to Vanderbilt, a UVA, these schools that literally would have no shot, who have been dreadful forever.
Correct.
You have a chance. There's a blueprint out there. You can win. Especially now with the playoff.
You do need great coaches and a great staff, because Cignetti feels like he's a one-on-one.
That's part of the blueprint, though. And you can say, well, that's always.
It used to be, let's stockpile. Like, how much talent can we stockpile, right? And it's those high star recruits, but they get to develop under your system because they can't go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So your Georgia's, Alabama's, Ohio States of the world would have, these high 4-star, 5-stars that are 3 deep on the depth chart, and in 2 years they get to start. And now they're developing, and now they're playing, right? I remember the Alabama running backs, like it was like absurd the amount of like running backs they had on one team, and you're like, these guys there's 6 NFL guys in that locker room. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, because what I was going to say is part of the blueprint, like you said, is about the coach, right? And you said Cignetti's 1 of 1, so you're not going to find another Cignetti, right? Get that. But what you need to find is not so much, oh, this guy's the best recruiter. This guy's the best coach, right? And that, if you really look at a lot of these coaches that won national titles, I mean, think about some of these guys. They were just able to get a lot of talent each time because they had the school and the resources, and they were able to win. Like a Les Miles and an Ed Orgeron. Love me some Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, but let's be real here. They're not the football coach that Curt Cignetti is. X's and O's and everything, right? It's not, that sounds like a slight and disrespect to them, but they're master recruiters, right? I mean, going back at Gus Malzahn, Auburn, winning the title with Cam Newton, right? Jimbo Fisher. These guys are, when you break it down.
We watched Jimbo fail at A&M.
A&M. Because he's he got all the talent. You can master recruiters selling, right? I mean, heck, you even say Lane Kiffin. That was his.
Franklin at Penn State.
Franklin
was at Penn State.
That used to be one of the biggest things.
Ton of talent. Yeah,
you have to be able to recruit,
and you got to be able to coach now, and you have to be able to coach in game situations too. It's different now. The best coaches, and speaking of that, I was looking at UNC's stuff. Belichick, there's no reason for me not to think Belichick in the next year to 2 years is going to have his team competing.
Yeah, just got to find get the right guys. It's a pro model essentially. What Belichick said, and it's one of the reasons Belichick came back. Yeah, Belichick is still a great football coach, right? And it's recency bias that we go, like, come on, look at what he did and how he did it for as long as he did it at the Patriots, right? You don't do that by
At the
accident. I don't
highest
hear, because
level.
they had Tom, they had Tom. Not for those
It
first
takes
years.
one.
It wasn't Tom, right?
It's
It's a yin and
everyone.
yang.
It takes it.
And
Yeah,
it
you
fit,
don't
and
get
it
one
fit
without
right.
the
It's the
other.
right fit. Yes.
Correct. You
And
don't just
so
get one
you're right.
without the other. Like Belichick and Tom are forever linked. Like I understand Tom, when he's 44 years old or whatever, won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, but that's a completely different part of
Tampa
his
Bay.
career.
Excuse me.
Tampa Bay, yeah. His name's Tom, lives in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Yeah, I mean, but you don't get one without the other type of thing. So there's always this complimentary. But yeah, I watch UNC. They're going to be much better next year.
Yeah, you just get your guys and that fits his scheme and his again, get the Edelmans of the world, and he was able to find them in New England. You would think there's no reason he won't be able to find them at UNC with the way the rules are and transfers and all that stuff. You do got to think that they are kind of like a sleeper for the next couple years. Now if they
100%.
lay an egg, then you can say, oh, the Belichick experiment didn't work, whatever. But
Yeah,
it's hard. It's
yeah.
hard not to bet on them at least. I mean, at least being better than they were this year. That seems like a safe
They
bet.
have to be, right?
Yes.
They have to be.
But being able to legit have a chance to win an ACC title, you got to think they'll have a chance, right? Now, again, no guarantee. I mean, you go 9-4. Well, heck, what Duke 8-5. This is what they went. They won ACC
8-5 and won the ACC. Yeah, and
yeah.
then
So
9-5, I guess, with the bowl win.
I thought did they win or lose that game? Arizona State. I forget. The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl or whatever. But yeah, at the Kurt Signetti, Indiana.
Arizona State.
I thought in the Sun Bowl.
Yeah, they played Arizona State. I think they won that game.
Okay. Whatever. But bottom line, Indiana Hoosiers football, what we saw in the last 2 years, truly is one of the most magical sports stories we've seen in our life, and may ever see. Truly.
Yeah, start writing the movie.
Get her done. Now, moving on to our 3 strikes. Boy. Go ahead, boy. What you got?
Let's talk about your Cavaliers and their basketball program. Because if you forgot,
the Wahoos. Oh,
yeah. Sorry, your Who's. If you did forget your Tony Bennett, as we talked about him at length in that discussion, he decided to resign this past year, and they bring in Ryan Odom. So very different squad.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, last year I forget his head assistant they gave the shot to,
head assistant. Oh yeah,
and they didn't do too hot. And
so Ryan Odom is in. Very different squad, but basically this team is now 16-2, and they just went through a week where they went at Louisville, number 20 Louisville at the time, and at SMU, and won those games in, I would say, kind of deciding fashion. This team actually fits the metrics for a national championship caliber team. As crazy as that sounds, they do fit the metrics of your efficiency on offense and your efficiency on defense, and the way you play, and all these different things that go into it. But they actually fit. I think there's like 8 or so schools that fit this. The Arizonas, the UConns,
Michigan, Duke, Purdue. I think Houston is on there. Purdue.
But yeah, it's pretty remarkable that UVA is on there in the first year of Ryan Odom's tenure. But this team does it in so many different ways. They don't have your typical like go-to scorer, and maybe that's a great thing, especially in the regular season. Maybe in the postseason, we'll see if that becomes a detriment. But at this point, I don't think so. But every player that plays has the ability to put the ball in the hole and also play elite defense. They play as a team so well. They move the ball. They run with pace. They play their defense so solidly. They rebound the ball. The shot blocking from Grunlow and who's the other big?
Is it not on Yesu on Wesu
Yes, him. Yeah,
from
incredible.
Kansas State transfer, I believe.
Yeah, incredible shot blockers.
Yes.
They can shoot the three. They have athletes. Dalen Hall, by the way, is the complete glue guy.
Oh,
Coming
he's
from
your
BYU,
Kihei Clark, but bigger.
but bigger. Yeah, I think he's like 6'6".
Yeah, he's
Something
big.
like, he's big, but he's I think he had like double-digit rebounds in the Louisville game.
Yeah,
or something.
it was like 4 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. It's like
those are awesome stats. I mean, he's not gonna put up offensive numbers scoring wise that you would typically see.
He doesn't need to though.
Like him, but he doesn't need to, and he needs to. He is the ultimate glue guy for that team. I appreciate he's on the court like almost all the time. I know
Yes.
Chance Mallory comes in, but I'm pretty sure they play together.
I mean, again, it's like Kihei Clark never came out of the game.
Right.
He would play almost all 40 minutes.
This team is fun to watch, and it's very like, the end of that Tony Bennett era. It was kind of like pulling teeth a little bit. You didn't have. I think the last like great team he had was like Trey Murphy and Sam Hauser, and that team was like doing really well. And then COVID hit, and they got screwed up before that Ohio game. But this team is fun to watch. They play faster, so the average fan, can sit there and go, okay, like I like watching UVA basketball now. But again, they have, like, surprisingly in Ryan Odom's first year, a national championship caliber team.
Next thing you know, you'll be telling people that defense wins championships. Well, it does.
That is something they started out the year where it looked like, oh, this is just a high-flying offense. And I think they were giving up a decent chunk of points. Their the last month and a half, 2 months of play or so, they've cranked up the defensive intensity. To be, a top defensive efficient team is remarkable. And it also, that's kind of who UVA is as a basketball program, is you hung your hat on the defensive end.
Yep.
So it's pretty great. By the way, their team is huge.
Yes. Huge.
Very big. It feels almost like that Wisconsin back-to-back Final Four teams.
Kaminsky and Decker and Bronson Koenig and they're
Bronson Koenig.
Big. Yep. Because Bronson Koenig was big. Like he was like 6'4" or so, 6'5", I feel like.
Gosser.
Yeah. So no, I agree. They are fun to watch. It's something to look for.
The Ritter Europeans. That's a
European.
Success.
Oh, you're talking. Okay.
Yeah. A model of success in college basketball. Start getting Europeans. They're all playing at a higher level than Americans are because we're playing AAU crap.
Well, I mean, DeRitter and Grunlow were playing professional basketball.
Correct.
In Europe.
And they're against grown men.
Yeah, when they were like 16, 17.
Yeah, they
18 years old,
The bigs control the ball so much better. Their footwork's so much better. They see the floor better. They play as a team better.
Well, because they're taught basketball. They're not taught, here's how you get a deal with an agent or a shoe deal. They're taught how to play basketball. Like I know Kobe used to talk about, because Kobe grew up in Italy because his dad was playing over there, and talked about how grateful he was that he grew up in Italy. And Italy's not a basketball power by any means. But he said he was taught all of these fundamentals, and that's what they were taught, all these fundamental things to do, right, that you have to be able to do to be successful. And couple that with Kobe's athleticism and obviously the other intangibles that we know, the winning.
Attitude and everything.
Yes, effort, all that stuff. And you have Kobe, right? But he said, I may not and probably wouldn't be what I was able to achieve without growing up in Europe and being taught the things that they're taught. So he credited a lot to that basketball coach culture there as well. Moving on, hit the button. Strike two. With the NFL playoffs, right? I'm going to highlight obviously we're give you what the conference final matchups are, but I'm gonna highlight the two games that really were the best games. It was the Broncos Bills game and the Rams Bears game. So start with in Denver with the Broncos and Bills game. That Josh Allen leads the comeback. Denver answers, forces OT. Right, we get into overtime, and this is where everyone is losing their mind. And I'm glad Joe Burrow set people in their place because he's absolutely right about all these people saying, this call's wrong and that call's wrong. And it comes to the Brandon Cooks catch, not catch, interception in overtime, right? First off, the ruling of interception is the correct call. Joe Burrow said it. He's right. It's the correct call. It's a contested ball. They're in the air. I don't care if it's 1 point. It looks like Cooks has it to himself. It's still wrestling for the ball as they're going to the ground. And so whoever comes up with that has the ball. Right? I don't care that it was down by contact doesn't apply to that because he's not a runner. He's in the air catching the ball.
And he hasn't no one's completed a catch yet.
Correct.
So there is no down by contact if you haven't completed the catch.
Correct. Now, what was incorrectly called was the lack of flag for pass interference on that play, which for whatever reason, no one is saying. Not a single person has brought that up. It was clearly pass interference. He doesn't locate the ball. He runs through the receiver, interferes with his ability to make the catch. If he does, yes, the ball is slightly underthrown, but it's still the defender's responsibility to locate the ball, turn around, and not interfere with the receiver making the catch. If he doesn't make that contact with him, everything we're talking about is a moot point because Cooks comes down with that ball easily, right? So the lack of pass interference on that call is the missed call. It's not the, catch or not catch. They got that part correct. No penalty. We can let the boys play, I guess. In overtime, I guess is what they're saying. But that should have been pass interference. I'm sorry. You're not going to be able to convince me otherwise. Now, what I didn't like, I did take a little umbrage to, was the fact that they didn't go back and review it. Right? We talked about the ability to ring down and say, hey, let's take a look at this. Right? We're talking overtime in a playoff game to go to the AFC Championship game. It doesn't kill anyone to just take a minute to look at it. And McDermott had to burn the timeout, and they still wouldn't look at it. That, to me, that didn't sit well with me. That actually sat worse with me than the lack of pass interference call because we talk so much about getting calls right and this and this and this and process of this, right? And then we'll take a look at 1,000 different plays that are obvious that don't need it, but yet we couldn't have taken a minute just to look at this.
Did they not do an expedited?
No, review? They did nothing.
Nothing.
Unless I'm wrong, but I believe they did nothing and McDermott called the timeout because they weren't going to do anything, and they still didn't do anything. Just charge a timeout to him. That's it. And that I didn't like because, again, in all that time it took, you could have done an expedited review, or you could have had him go under the hood and look at it. It was all possible, all right there. And yes, they still got the call right. And I that's what they will hide behind is, well, we got the call right on the field. Why do we need to review it? That's not the point. It's to make sure you got it right because these things are happening so fast. And yes, these guys are excellent. Like spotting the ball, they're just as good at that as like the MLB guys are calling safe out on the bases. Like they are unreal at spotting the ball. It's actually crazy, right? But it doesn't kill you to take the time and just look at it, right? That didn't sit well with me. What also didn't sit well was the ensuing drive with the Broncos, the game-winning drive, and the two pass interference calls that they called against the Bills. Now, the first one, I don't understand. Because if you're not going to call the pass interference on this one, right, the first call that gave them that initial first down, that official is reaching in his pocket when there's no contact even being made. You can see it on the angle. There's no contact being made, and the official is reaching in his pocket to throw the flag, right? Even though the play or two plays before, it was a borderline pass interference call that wasn't called, right? So you didn't call the one that results in the interception. You don't call a borderline one on the Bills. You call one that is a phantom one, in my opinion. And then you have the Tre'Davious White thing where it is clearly pass interference. They throw the flag. He slams his helmet, all that stuff, right? But he's slamming his helmet, not to excuse that behavior from an adult, right? but it's out of frustration the same way we see baseball players get tossed by Angel Hernandez, because the ball will be here 6 times and it's a strike. And then the ball will be here 6 more times and it's a ball. And then it'll be here and it's a strike. And the next pitch here, it's a ball. Right? It's that inconsistency.
And then you strike out swinging on a pitch that isn't a strike, and you know it's not a strike.
Yes.
But you have to swing at it because he's called it this, and he's so inconsistent that you're like that you have no choice but to swing at it. And then you go, well, it's your own fault. You swung at it, you struck out, but it's all this other crap that went through it, and now I need to give you a piece of my mind.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That is essentially what Tre'Davious White did. He pulled the batter getting tossed on a garbage Angel Hernandez.
The Kyle Schwarber.
Yes, that's what it was. It really, right? That's what it was. Is what the hell is going on? You tell me what pass interference is, right? I left watching that game and then watching every game this weekend going, I have no idea what pass interference is. No idea.
No one does. They haven't known how to call that, or what's a catch or whatever for.
No, well, but catch, I have a better understanding. Catch, I know what a catch is. For the most part, there's very few of those that I go, oh, I'm surprised at that. But pass interference, the crapshoot, whoever's being the ref at that point in time, whatever, right? Because those 4 calls to me, and they were in quick succession, was kind of like what, and that's essentially what, again, the frustration that you saw from Tre'Davious White was because of that. It's not necessarily because they called that penalty on him. It's because you watch, because it's a veteran. This is a stud, Pro Bowl, All-Pro corner, right? Doing his homework, watching the plays, right? The same way when you're playing baseball, you're watching the pitcher and his arm angle, and you're watching what pitches are called strikes and balls. He's doing that, looking at it. Okay, this was not called pass interference, so I should be able to do that. Yet I do this, and it gets called, and we lose the game, right? Where make it make sense, right? Is essentially what he was saying. Now, obviously, again, the slam in the helmet, all that stuff, it doesn't look good. I'm sure they probably fined him for it, which is kind of ridiculous to me. But that's what you saw happen, right? And the Broncos kicked the field goal. They move on to the AFC Championship game. Bo Nix broke his ankle the play before. So now we get Jarrett Stidham. The great Jarrett Stidham will start for them when they take on the Patriots in the AFC Championship.
Nick Foles tweeted out, was like, it's okay, Denver. New England has a history of playing bad against backup quarterbacks.
Yes.
It can be done.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good. All right, but yes, you have New England traveling to Denver. Denver's number 1 seed, so they have that going for them as well, the home field advantage. But just a brutal way for the Bills to lose, and also, we're going to get caught up in all the calls and all that catch no catch crap. But the Bills committed 5 or 6 turnovers in the game, right? And if you take away 1 or 2 of those, you win the game. So you had many opportunities to win that game. You can't expect to win when you commit 5, 6 turnovers and don't force any. Right? Because they forced a 1 turnover early in the game. The guy jumps offside inexplicably. Right, they forced a fumble. Right, those things are massive plays that don't really go down in win probability added, because it comes out as a not a play, right, because of the penalty. But those things that happen change the game so much. So as aggrieved as the Bills fans think they are with it, and I do always sympathize with them, because my God, you make it to 4 Super Bowls and you can't win 1. That is. The older I get, even though this happened before I was even alive, the older I get, and even looking at it, it doesn't compute. How?
And then you
right,
go,
and so
this year, no Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady's
no
gone,
Joe Burrow,
no Joe
Tom.
Burrow. It's Allen's year. He's the best player in football.
Yep.
And you turn the ball over 5 times and you lose. And oh my gosh, and then you lose your coach.
And then you fire your coach, which
that made no sense to me.
The only sense it makes
2020, is go ahead.
The only sense it makes is the same reason the Ravens fired Harbaugh is, we think doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Like, if we change something up, this will get us over the hump. And that's sometimes
there's
like
no
gambler's
beginning.
fallacy as well. Like, it won't be a 7 again. Well, the odds reset every time you roll. Like, that's not a real thing, right? That's the fallacy of it. So I think it's out of that. It's reactionary. It's out of fear, truly. The same way, like, oh, we're gonna lose the window of this, and it's just to see. It's essentially diminishing the effect of a coach too, as well. Saying, well,
Yeah.
maybe we get someone in here
Since
that does this.
2020, they have, I believe, the best offense and best defense in, like, I think points per game or whatever it is, in the league, and they have the highest point differential by far. It's like plus 900, and the next team was the Chiefs at like plus 582.
Yeah.
It was something absurd, and because you didn't get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl, we're gonna fire McDermott.
And
That
and
to me,
also,
it's so dumb.
yes,
It always brings me back to Nebraska football.
yes,
Every single time a team does this knee jerk reaction of we should be better, we should be better. Like, why aren't we getting there? Maybe he's gotten you like to this point because he's damn good and he made your team damn good. Whatever it is, maybe it works. Maybe I'll look back and have egg on my face or whatever, and maybe the Bills win the Super Bowl next year. But to me, I don't think your team gets better because you fired McDermott. I think they get worse, and I think you become Nebraska football over and over again, and you go, "Oh man, why can't we do this?"
yeah. Now the defense in it would be scared money don't make money, right? If you're not willing to take a risk, you're not going to get the reward, type of thing, right? But I will say, in a matter of
only
date,
one team wins the Super Bowl, man.
yeah.
I feel like fan bases, owners, teams, whatever, they all think like 5 teams should win the Super Bowl every year.
But
Like,
again,
only one team wins.
if you're not caring that much about it, what are you caring about, right?
But to me, that's not the that
That's what it.
to do it because okay, I care about it, so I'm going to try to help him as much as I can. Maybe they reach a point where we've
Yes.
given you everything and we can't do any more. Where we have to let you go and we have to bring someone in and get like a new face in here and see if that jump starts it and fixes it.
Yeah. Now,
I don't know.
what's interesting, in a matter of days, we went from having multiple head coaches from William and Mary to having none in the league and one head coach from Siena. We went from multiple William and Mary head coaches to none to a Siena head coach in Jeff Halfley.
How does the Siena happen?
Miami.
How does that happen?
I think he played in like the last team that Siena had football wise because Siena doesn't have a football team anymore. No, I think he was like the last or one of the last teams they had in like the late 90s, early 2000s, which is funny. Now the other game is the Rams Bears game, right? So first off, I want to start off with the Devontae Adams catch, no catch that people bring up. No, it's 100% a catch because he secures the ball solely.
Very different. Yes.
Correct. He secures the ball solely and turns, and then hands come on the ball, and he goes down. So he completed the catch. Essentially, that's a catch and try to fumble, whereas the other one was interception. So again, like I said, Joe Burrow put everyone in their place. He's absolutely right. That was the correct call on that Bears-Rams game. Unfortunately, it happened right after, the day after the Bills won, so everyone loses their mind because outrage is trending on everything. But no, that was the correct call there. But the bigger thing was the play by Caleb Williams to Cole Kmet in the end zone. I text you guys and stuff. I legitimately exclaimed, "Oh my god!" Like I don't like it. It just came out. Like normally I'm not going to say something unless I consciously think through it that I'm going to say this. Oh, what a catch, right? Literally, there's instinctive. I put my hands on my head and was essentially like, "What did I just watch?" With the Caleb Williams, he was almost on the logo. He was almost at midfield. He threw that ball like essentially 50 yards in the air,
off his back foot, in what 15 degrees.
Yes,
on the last play
was snowing before. Yeah, the play you gotta have it. And then like the adjustment by Komet too, because it's not offensive pass interference. They
No,
both
it's
were
not.
there.
And you saw Komet, because Komet always does the baseball, like hitting the home run celebration. So I'm assuming Cole Komet used to play baseball, and you can see on that throw a baseball player tracking the ball versus a non-baseball player tracking the ball. That is not. It was not a push off, and I'm glad the official that helps out or whatever said both are engaged and one separate, and then Komet separates by himself tracking the ball, not pushing off. So it's a clean play. There's no push off, and you can see the DB like he no idea how to track it.
Yes. No, I'm glad you said it because I was just about to say it as well. You watched that, and that was a baseball player tracking the ball, like you said, versus a guy who's not used to it. It's like we brought up the Nick Saban quote where he said, "I started recruiting baseball players to play DB for that reason." Right? You don't want to assume, but like you said, I can almost guarantee that DB did not play baseball in high school. Like, you almost guarantee, right?
Yes, you don't want to assume, but
it's exactly what it was.
The way it looked by who's tracking the ball, or maybe he wasn't a high level baseball player. We can say that, right? But the way it looked for someone tracking the ball, that's what it is.
Yes, and Caleb Williams, I believe, played baseball at Gonzaga too. I feel like he's talked about that, right? So you had baseball,
DC Gonzaga.
Yeah. So, baseball player to baseball player, understanding that, and that's part of the brilliance of that throw is knowing I can put it there. He will adjust to it, and he'll at least be able to make a play on the ball, right? Anticipating it being that easy, right? It probably didn't, but again, Komet is in there too because Loveland got hurt recently before that play. Like, not long before that play happened, Colson Loveland went out with an injury, so you said Komet always has the baseball swing. That was on full display. That is why you play multiple sports, so you can make the game tying touchdown catch in Soldier Field in the playoffs, right? Because the skills translate, right? Athletic intuition, I think, is what Saban called it with baseball players. That's all that was. There was nothing. We talk about all the skill and stuff. There was nothing physical that Cole Komet did, right? It wasn't because he's 6'5". It wasn't because he can jump this high. It wasn't because he can run this fast that he made that play. It was because he played multiple sports growing up, and he has a multitude of skill sets that he can rely on, and that's why that play was made. Now, ultimately, in overtime, Bears make a stop. Caleb Williams throws an interception. Looked like him and DJ Moore were on the wrong page, or weren't on the same page there. Rams come down, and Mevis and Butthead kicks the winning field goal for the Rams. The thicker kicker, if you will, I think is what he calls himself, from Mizzou. Had some great moments at Mizzou, by the way.
Oh, yeah, he was phenomenal.
But he hits that game winner, send the Rams to the NFC Championship game where they will take on another intradivisional game with the Seahawks, who just dismantled the 49ers, in that divisional game. So championship games for conferences, you have the Seahawks and the Rams in Seattle, and then you have the Broncos and the Patriots in Denver. So should be good stuff there, right? Anything else before we hit the next strike?
No, but I can't. You might have to filibuster here, or take a quick pause here. My internet's messing up, and I can't hit the transition strike button. So I gotta refresh here and try to get back on.
So you're literally leaving, just hit the strike button. It's not that big of a deal.
I can't stop the recording either.
Okay.
You keep going and we can figure it out later, but I can't stop the recording.
It's filibuster.
To reconnect.
Do you know what that word means?
It seems like you have a tenuous grasp on the
English language in general. I'm sorry, where did you go to law school? I could ask you the same thing. I went to Harvard.
Well, why don't you and I go toe-to-toe on bird law?
Yes, so strike three.
Yeah.
punch out. I'm actually going to go soccer route here with the AFCON final. AFCON is the same thing as the African continent version of CONCACAF over here on the United States, Mexico, Canada, islands, Central America side. They have basically every few years have the cup that you play off for to be champions of that region. So AFCON had theirs this year. The final featured Senegal and Morocco taking place. I believe this was in Morocco. Rabat is the capital of Morocco, by the way. I think that's where this took place. I believe it's the capital, right? Did you also
fooled me, Jerry?
Casablanca is in Morocco as well, I believe. So the famous movie is an actual city in Morocco, I believe.
Yes, it is. Casablanca. Yep, looking right
at
it.
So, two of Africa's best teams, two teams I believe they are in the World Cup. This game had no bearing on World Cup. This is just for, national pride and everything, right? Well, we have kind of a nice tussle going back and forth throughout the game. Senegal had a couple good chances, couldn't convert. Morocco had a couple good chances, couldn't convert. The goalkeepers, not goaltenders, that's your hockey term, but the goalkeepers both are great. They're two great goalkeepers in the world. Really, again, these are two very good teams. I told you before the show, I almost expect both these teams to make it out of their group stage and maybe even advance a stage in the knockout round at the World Cup. They're very good, right? But then you say the shit hits the fan at the end of this game, right? So in stoppage time, Senegal has a corner and gets sent into the box, and it appears that they headed in for what you would think would be the eventual game winner. Again, not a lot of time left. Well, goal waved off for a foul on the Senegalese player for pushing off on the Moroccan defender for the goal, right? Yes, there's contact, but looked a little suspect, or sus as the kids like to say, right?
Oh, stop.
Waved off. It comes back down the other end, right? And Morocco has a corner. They send one in. Defense clears. They keep playing. Nothing's going on. Well, VAR calls down for the official, the head referee, to check to see if there's a potential penalty. Again, we watched it beforehand, right? I didn't see the official make any motion for penalty initially, right? So it looks like VAR is saying, hey, look at this, because a lot of times there's a lot of tussling going on in the course of, and jockeying for position in the course of the ball being in the air on a corner. And it appears that it's possible that the Senegalese defender throws a Moroccan attacker to the ground, right? But it's really not that, like, it's less contact than what you saw on the other end when Senegal had their goal waved off. Well, after VAR and after confrontations with the players over this on the benches and everything on the field, it is determined that Morocco is awarded a penalty, right? And everyone loses their minds. Again, the little skirmishes and fights continue to happen with the players. Fans come on the field, as they like to call, pitch invaders is what they like to call them in soccer, right? They invade the pitch. It is a scene. The Senegal coach takes his whole team off of the field, right? It is nuts. Like I told you before, if you ever thought you saw the shit hit the fan at like an American event, you haven't seen nothing yet, right?
This isn't a soccer riot.
Yeah, exactly.
On,
That's essentially what we have here, right? The game is stopped for 15 minutes. Again, we're in the last minute of stoppage time, and it's stopped for an additional 15 minutes because all these people out on the pitch going crazy, the players going crazy on both sides, right? And eventually, they get everyone back. Senegal kind of ices the kicker. They don't come back in real quick. They make their time coming back onto the pitch. And the guy goes up to take the penalty, and Panenka, I believe that's what it's called, tries a little chip straight at the goalie, thinking he's going to dive one way or the other. I believe it's a Panenka. And it was just miserable. No conviction in it. The
better
goalie goes to move and then realizes has
Yeah.
time to come back and gather it and almost laugh at him.
Be like 120% confident that that's gonna work to pull that shit.
No.
Otherwise, you look like a fool.
Yes. And saved. We go into extra time. So essentially overtime of soccer. And it's only done when it's an elimination game. Normally that would have just ended it in a tie, right? Or a draw. In extra time, it's two 15-minute stages. In the first set of extra time, Senegal forces a turnover. They come down, the guy running, falling down, just whips his leg. Guehi, I think, or Gueya was his name, and just fires a inch perfect missile into the top left corner, indefensible, unsavable by the Moroccan goalie to put Senegal up 1-0. They're able to hold on. They had a chance to go up 2-0. Morocco's goalie, who again I forget his name, but Bono, I think, played fantastic. So did Mendy on the Senegal side, but makes a great save to keep it 1-0. Morocco had a couple chances, pushed them wide, and eventually it ends in a 1-0 victory for Senegal. And I think Sadio Mane, who's the talisman for Senegal, I think what they said something about he's the first player to win like multiple AFCON championships and multiple AFCON Player of the Year, something like that. He's a fantastic player, Sadio Mane. Should be seeing him at the World Cup. That should be good. But yes, scenes of pandemonium, if you will, like stuff that is only in an international soccer game would you see this crap going on. And I loved every bit of it. But yes, the AFCON final, crazy stuff there. Anything else, boy, before we move on to our favorites?
Nope. It was a good highlight reel, even if I had to watch a corner that led to nothing, not even a shot on goal, and it was a quote-unquote highlight.
Yes.
Soccer.
Watched hours and hours of soccer. I almost saw
a goal.
Yes. Thank you, Homer. Was that Fat Ronaldo? Was that who was in that episode?
Yes.
Oh, Fat Ronaldo. The man. Fat Ronaldo was a beast. He was, again, it sounds like we're disparaging him. He's like Bartolo Colon. He's built that way, just didn't get there, and it still hasn't fully gotten to that, even in retirement. But for a soccer player, being built like that is atypical. Is atypical.
Your daughter is a flopper.
But what a stud, Fat Ronaldo. All right, that's going to take us to our favorite segment, brought to you as always by One Legacy Title and Escrow in Jacksonville, Florida. Follow them on Instagram at One Legacy Florida and visit them at onelegacyflorida.com to see how they can help you with your next house closing. One Legacy Title and Escrow, because your legacy matters. We'd like to point out before we get into our favorites this week, the owner, founder, starter of One Legacy Title and Escrow, Miss Bailey Barnfind, is a proud alum of Indiana University in Bloomington and was there at the game, which is pretty freaking sweet. So congrats again to them. Yes. This week, though, we went with our favorite college football national champions of all time, team-wise, not individual team, or not individual, but team-wise, our favorites of all time. Boy, what you got?
I have one honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
It is Florida State 1999, only for the fact that they beat Virginia Tech and Beamer. That is literally the only reason why I put them there. I think they have who was the running back?
You think Warwick Dunn?
Warwick Dunn, yeah.
No, was he still there? I thought he would have been gone. Maybe they had him. I thought he was gone by then. No, because I thought he was with like Derek Brooks.
I don't know. I thought Warwick Dunn might have been on that team, but I'm going with that Florida State team just because they beat Virginia Tech.
How about you clip that and we'll post it just for our tech contingent. Sure. Just for them. Just for them.
Yeah, no problem.
Because you know what this it's like the Playoff Dr Pepper commercial where the platypus, the tech mascot, is sitting in the snow, and they go, "Oh," and he hands him a Dr Pepper, and then the other guys start pelting him with snowballs. And tech stinks. That's what this is. Shove
Correct.
it.
Yes. My next one, number 5, Alabama 2012, because they beat the ever living piss out of Notre Dame, and it was men versus boys. That was the like you get off the Alabama gets off the bus and Notre Dame goes, we're in trouble. That's why I have them on here, because that team was just bigger, stronger, faster, more physical, just downright nastier than everyone they played. It was
one team belonged, the other team didn't.
Yeah,
just be real.
And it was honestly, it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch for me because I'm not gonna root for Notre Dame, and that was I actually had no issue with any of Saban's Alabama teams. I kind of liked it. But as I will say, as I was looking through this list of let me find the list of national champions, everything. There's a list, and it's at one point it's just all Alabama.
Yes.
Of from 2010 to basically 2020. Of they're either winning the national championship or they're in the national championship.
That's why Nick Saban's the greatest coach ever.
It was 7 years, 7 of 10 years or something. It was something absurd. Yeah, it's just absolutely insane. And then my next one, because Alabama was in it so long, Clemson 2016, beating Alabama. I believe that was the Deshaun Watson, Hunter Renfrow,
correct,
little offensive pass interference rub route there in the
it's a rub.
Yeah, little rub route there in the waning moments of that game to win. But that was also one of the better national championship games we've had. Crazy that was 10 years ago. My next one, this one was for Comlo, Florida State 2013. Just for famous Jameis, all the antics, all the crazy plays that he had. I believe that was against is that Oregon they played.
For some reason, I thought it was Auburn.
Auburn. I think they had to go through. Do they have to go through Oregon to play Auburn? Something like that.
It wasn't the playoff. That was still BCS.
It was the BCS. I
think it might have been the last BCS one.
It was the last. It was Auburn. Yep, it was the last BCS.
Kelvin Benjamin making the catch in the end zone was
another great game. That Florida State Auburn game. Number 2, LSU 2019. I maintain it's the best college football team ever. You can throw. I would, if you argue 2001 Miami or one of the Nebraska black shirt teams or whatever, I'm not going to argue with you too much or whatever. But that 2019 LSU team was in my recent memory was the best team I've ever seen play. Best college football team I've ever seen step foot on a field. And Joe Burrow, I think, had 60 plus touchdowns that year.
His numbers
Jefferson,
are asinine.
Chase, Edwards-Helaire. I mean, they had not just NFL talent, but high end NFL talent. That team was absurd, and then the fact that you have Orgeron as the coach too, that the raging Cajun himself, that just makes it even better.
He's literally Farmer Fran from Waterboy. Go run laps with Farmer Fran. Shit, that's Orgeron.
And then my number 1 is this year's Indiana team, because they broke all the barriers for all the star ratings, all the things you can shove out the window. The best coaches, the best coaching matters. Football players matter. They changed everything. I loved watching this team play. I was rooting for them to kick the shit out of every team they played. I loved watching Indiana just roll. And usually you're like, well, I want to see a good game. No, I want to see them beat the hell out of you. That's how much I like this Indiana team. They're by far my favorite national champion. I'll hang up.
I like it. So I have one honorable mention as well. It's, of course, we should all remember the 1905 Chicago Maroons. Yes, University of Chicago, which no longer has a football team, but they were one of the original members of the precursor to the Big Ten. I think it was called like the Northwest Conference, but it had all of our normal staples in that conference: Minnesota, Iowa,
The Northwest
Wisconsin.
Conference? Do we like just get the Northwest Territory? What do we mean the
Yes,
Northwest Conference?
1905. Yes, we did. It's not that. I mean, what, 100, less than 100 years before that, 100 year, right? So yes, I want to say that's what it was called, the Northwest Conference. But all of the normal culprits that you had in the Big Ten were there. Like I said, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, right? And then you had Chicago, which was coached by the famous Amos Alonzo Stagg, like very Hall of Famer, like the name. Yes, that's a prominent name, Amos Alonzo Stagg.
Okay, sure.
People know who that
Famous
is.
Amos.
He coached baseball there too, and I think he coached basketball, whatever. But they were excellent, right? I think that's their first national title team that they had. I think they won another one or two, but they again they don't exist. One of their players, his name was Mysterious Walker. I believe it was one of their tailbacks, and he went on to pitch in the majors for 3 years, which is hilarious. It for like
What are we doing?
for these random teams in Major League Baseball. But I bring it up because it's just so fascinating to me how things change. That this was a team, a powerhouse team in the only, like, that was the only conference that existed. It was the Premier Conference, right? Essentially what the Big Ten was to be. And it doesn't exist anymore. Part of that, I think, is because there was a huge gambling scandal in the Chicago basketball realm. Uh,
Al Capone?
I actually might have. It's a
I mean,
huge,
I'd have to think if that's he's
it's
Chicago,
a crazy story that really should be told more. I need to go back and read it, but essentially that wiped out their sports, and they're just a D3 school now. But this was a D1 powerhouse and everything, and gone. So I just thought we'd take a little history lesson to learn about a little bit about Amos Alonzo Stagg and the Chicago Maroons of 1905. And my number 5, I have 2016 Clemson, like you had, the Hunter Renfro play. Like you said, it was a great play. To me, it represented a David versus Goliath moment, even though really, right, we think about it now, and it's not. But again, Clemson, I want to say that was their first title. Like, they won, what, couple, 2, 3 with Dabo? I think 2, right? But that was really them reaching them.
That was the first one they won in 2018.
Yeah, that was them reaching the mountaintop when they had gotten close, and Dabo finally crawling over and really doing what no one thought possible at beating Nick Saban, right? So that's why I love that one. The play to
had some battles too, because he the year prior was also Alabama Clemson,
yes,
and that game ended 45-40.
Yes, no, that's it. Just represented that, like, getting over the hump. Him doing it too with the guys who were less heralded than what was on Alabama. Yes, obviously they're all studs, but Hunter Renfro, wasn't he a walk on or like a no start nothing recruit at Clemson? And the guy produces the way he did, got to play in the NFL for as long as he did because of that, right? So very much a fan of that. Next one, number 4, is the 2008 Florida Gators. That's the Tim Tebow led team. I think they did whatever that documentary on Netflix about. But, I'm a fan of Tebow because I said it before. He is winning personified. Right? I brought it up with Mendoza and what he did, because to me, what that was very
Mendoza saying I think Scott Van Pelt was asking him some questions or whatever, and he was talking like, "Oh, Mr. Tebow was talking to me about this or whatever," and Van Pelt was like, "You can call him Tim."
But no, like, that's why I'm a fan of Tebow. The other stuff I don't care about, but I'm not necessarily a fan of Urban Meyer or the rest of the guys on that team. But Tebow
team ended up with like 40 people arrested or something.
I'm sure, right? Tim Tebow wasn't one of them, but the fact that he's able to lead a team like that to win in the way he did it very admirable to me. So the Florida Gators number 4. Number 3, like you said, the 2019 LSU Tigers. I echo exactly what you said. May not be a better college football team ever. And they were so easy, like just the easy dominance, right? The Joe Cool, all of that stuff spawned from it.
It was like 5 touchdowns in the first half or something in that game.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever it was. It was oh my god.
It was just so good. Like they were so good, and it was when you were watching it, you knew that you're not going to see something like this, right? That it may be generations before you see something that was just so easy to dominate the way they did.
It's going to be tough to get to that spot because of all of the talent,
the fluidity.
Again, this was stockpiled NFL high end.
But remember, Joe Burrow was a transfer. Joe Burrow came in and played, but he was there for 2 years. Came in there. That was his second year.
Have you heard the Orgeron story of getting him?
No.
It was they went out to a restaurant or whatever on his recruiting trip, transfer recruiting trip or whatever, and they didn't have, I think it was like crawfish. They didn't have crawfish on the menu or something. Whatever restaurant they were at didn't have it.
Crawfish.
It's like Burrow was like disappointed. He's like, oh, I kind of, that was like the one thing I wanted to do here was just like have a big crawfish boil type thing. And Orgeron was like, give me a second. Like makes a call. Some guy comes in with just crawfish in this restaurant and gives it to him.
I love it.
That's the beauty of LSU.
Yes. Right, yeah. I do love Orgeron. I don't think he was that great of a head coach,
I don't think he was either.
But he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Right. Number 2 is 2005 Texas. Vince Young, them defeating USC. Again, that I always the underdog, the David versus Goliath thing. That not a single person gave them a chance coming into that title game. Literally the entire week leading up to that is USC the greatest college football team of all time? And they weren't even phrasing it as if USC wins, are they the greatest? They were phrasing it as this is a foregone conclusion. They are this much better than Texas. Texas has no shot. And Vince Young comes in there into the Rose Bowl and single-handedly defeats them. The touchdown run and all of that, that's just as iconic as what Mendoza's run will be. Truly, I believe that. Right, that's a compliment to Mendoza, but also about Vince Young. Well, it will be memory burned of him trotting into that end zone. Right, he single-handedly beat them. I think was awesome.
The USC team had
everyone.
Like the Heisman winner.
They had 2 Heisman winners. They had Leinart and Reggie. They had 2 Heisman winners.
They had 2,000-yard rushers.
Lendell White.
White was on that team.
Mm-hmm.
He had a 1,000-yard receiver. It was like the most. It was.
Ray Maluga? Was that no? Was he there yet? The defense had some dudes.
Game numbers.
Yes,
and then it was Vince Young saying, "Not today.
Not today. Not so fast, my friend." And then number 1, that was a little segue into Indiana. At Lee Corso's. Where he used to coach. Isn't it amazing? The 2025 Indiana team, right? You start the year 2 with Lee Corso being sent off, right? With his whole everything. And he had always said throughout the years, right? You watch College Game Day, Lee Corso went to Florida State, coached at the Naval Academy, and proud head coach at Indiana University. Said it all the time, right? And to see it happen, again, well, he's still alive. Yes, who knows what his health is. But, it's kind of like the Cubs winning, right? And you had no curse here, but it's one of those things where there are people who thought they'd never see this while they were alive. And to have them win the way they did, we've gone on about it. It is perfect. I almost don't want them to make a movie about it because I feel like they'll do a disservice to it. And it will kind of undermine.
You just need like an NFL film style documentary.
Yeah, it'll undermine the achievement because it is sensational. It is remarkable. All the other teams on our list, are powerhouses. true powerhouses who have for years had everything at their disposal, right? Who we guarantee they've been paying players for decades, right? Before you could.
What happened to a good old McDonald's bag of 10K?
Yeah,
Gosh,
exactly, right?
how much this country has fallen.
In Indiana, like you said, they have flipped everything on their head. And football and all sports and really all industry is a copycat industry. Everyone copies what is successful, right? You try to emulate that the best you can. And they just laid it out and said, we beat you. It would beat everyone, right? You roll through Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, Miami. Like the biggest names of the names. The only one they didn't beat was like Georgia and Notre Dame, right? You roll through everyone, and to do it the way they did with who they had there to just flipping everyone on their heads, flipping the bird basically to everybody. Truly, right? And like you said, I was rooting for them to demolish everyone because it's that astounding because of where they've been that you almost don't believe it until you watch them annihilate people over and over and over again. Just straight up smash them. I think they only had 4 close games this year. Miami, Ohio State, Iowa, and Penn State, right? That's it. And out of 16 games, you say, well, 4's a lot. Yeah, 4's a lot when you're only playing 12 games. Now you're playing 16. That's all. You had a whole fraction, whole denominator to your season there, right? So the way they did in everything, it should be, talked about forever. In the annals, I love that. In the annals, question mark, of the sport, this should stand as an outlier. And yes, there's been some outlier national champions, but they're few and far between, and they didn't come in a playoff era where you had to earn it. It was all on someone's judgment, right? Like the 84 BYU team stands out to people. It's like because they played in a garbage conference, and their bowl game was the Holiday Bowl, right? They didn't even play in like one of the New Year's Six bowls. They played in like the Pacific Life Holiday Bowl against Michigan and won it and were named national champs on that team. I believe Robert and I and Trevor Matich were offensive linemen on that team, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But, you have that outlier. Georgia Tech, Colorado split one, but that's the point. They split one. Those are 2 outlier teams, but they split one. Indiana had to earn it, beating everyone, every blue blood that you could think of for the most part that we consider in this sport, had to go through them and did it. It's 16 games too, right? That the Patriots, right? They go 18-0 Patriots. It's truly remarkable what Indiana accomplished this year in the last 2 years is so admirable and deserves every sort of praise that we could heap upon it. And yet, I'm sure people start to get upset and this is exhausting. But I really don't care. I'll listen to it all day, as well will every Indiana alum and anyone who's ever rooted for them, because it is that, again, incomprehensible to think that we are sitting here right now talking about Indiana being on the mountaintop. They're on the summit of college football. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. Anything else before we wrap this up?
Nope.
Now, that's going to take us to our What to Look For segment, brought to you as always by VB Cookie Co. Looking for the perfect way to stand out at the next event you're hosting? Well, custom cookies are a timeless way to have everyone still buzzing even after they leave. Look no further for your cookie needs than VB Cookie Co. Follow them on Instagram at VB Cookie Co. and message them to order yours today. Whether it is a bridal shower, birthday, engagement, or baby shower, their team will work with you to make all your cookie dreams come true. VB Cookie Co. for the sweetest moments. Boy, give the people something to look for.
So this Saturday in the college basketball world, the South's oldest rivalry, that would be UNC versus UVA. I don't know actually if this game's going to happen because the snow that's coming through. But
some estimates I've seen close to 30 inches of snow.
Yeah,
30 inches.
Brutal. We don't have the infrastructure for this. But Tony Bennett, the court is going to be named after Tony Bennett.
At John Paul Jones Arena. It's going to be Tony Bennett
Arena,
Court at John Paul Jones Arena.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct. So that's a big deal. And it's a big game for both teams, actually. Because UNC, they lose this, they start slipping real hard.
And I slip in.
And then the night game, primetime, Houston and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is coming off a victory over BYU, which was a huge victory. And then Houston is back to rolling. That's the team. And by the way, that's a team that will check you and make sure, are you a fraud or not? They'll let you know. Houston will let you know. You compete against Houston, you can play. Or you're going to get your ass kicked. Houston will let you know. So that's always I love watching Kelvin Sampson's teams, so I'll be glued into that one.
I like it. Very good. One I have is the Australian Open. Continues. It started on Sunday of this week. We're still kind of in the early rounds. First round is still going on, I believe.
Is every one of these a fortnight?
Basically, majors, because there's just so many people there. There's so many guys. Because normally, I think we kind of talked about this, the WTA Women's Tennis Association and the ATP, which is the men's tour, they rarely are lining up where they're at the same place. Normally, they're all different places, right? And they have different levels of events that are at different places. And so the big ones, I think they call them like their Masters 1000 events, are the ones where you have men and women at the same place. That's like your Cincinnati's, right? That's your big ones, your, and your majors, right? And those ones always take 2 weeks because you have so many people to go through. And the fields are expanded and everyone's there, right? Everyone's there. Some of these other events, you might have like half the guys there. And it's like, okay, this is still a good field. It's kind of like golf in that respect, where you have some of these events and then you have the majors where everyone's there, and then you have these like bigger events, everyone's there. So everyone is here at the Aussie Open. The fun major, the happy major, I think is what they call it, because it's summer down there right now. But yes, that's going on. They are all a fortnight.
Toilets also go the opposite direction.
Correct. And you can't order coffee; it's only beer.
Beer.
Coffee.
Beer.
Coffee.
Beer.
C-O.
Beer.
Oh, I see you played Knifey Spooning before. The great Simpsons episode. But yes, Australian Open. Our Americans are still doing well. There were several American versus American matchups, which is disappointing to see, because that means an American has to lose, but also an American will win. But something to keep an eye on. The first major of the year should continue to be good. And I normally, the best, at least for me, the best round is like when it's the second weekend and right after the second weekend, like that Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of the second beginning of the second week. That's always the best for me at a major. Anything else, Boyd, before we wrap this up?
Nope.
And put everyone out of their misery. All right, so that's going to do it for us here at What Caught My Eye, or WCME Sports. Before we sign off, just remember to follow us on all of our socials. That's on X, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, Snapchat, and Threads at WCME_sports. Our episodes drop every Wednesday at noon on Spotify, YouTube, and iHeartRadio, and all that information can be found on our website, WCMEsports.com. For the boy, Stephen Veschi, I am the coach, Nick Veschi. Remember, be decent to each other. Have a good one, and we will see you next time. Take care, Guatemala.
All right.